Our first item of business on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for our November meeting.
Make a motion to approve.
Second,
Got shut out.
how'd you like that?
Thank you, Susan and
You're
Jay.
too polite.
That was wonderful.
Memories of Jay have just gotten a little different.
Your mouth was full, I had you as a handicap.
Very good. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye,
The minutes for last month are approved. Our next item on our agenda today is the privilege of the floor. And do we have anybody?
Yes, we do.
We do. Oh. Okay.
I do.
Thank you. Thank you. And-
Karen Engstrom, I am from the town of Chautauqua, the village of Chautauqua, the town of Mayville. And I'd like to once again talk about solar in Chautauqua County. We're experiencing, as the Post-Journal has alerted us, the presence of PFAS, a polyfluoroalkyl substance, a forever chemical that the EPA has described as causing reproductive issues, immunodeficiencies, hormonal disruptors, and cancer in the liver, kidneys, and prostate. The town of Mayville has recognized this because they've been contaminated with PFAS, and they've endeavored to prevent it from happening again by putting a special use permit item on their solar permit. And that new item requires proof that there is no PFAS in solar components. Solar components are often coated with PFAS. It is vital to protect our community from PFAS. It is already reported in the Chautauqua River. It's been found in milk. It's reported in the New York Times. The FDA has alerted the entire country to the dangers of PFAS. It's very simple to solve. Just require proof that there is no PFAS in any solar components. Cattaraugus County IDA has extended its moratorium on solar an additional 6 months. They have determined there will be no pilot because solar already gets federal tax breaks. It already gets state tax breaks. It gets mortgage tax exemptions and sales tax exemptions, and the real estate is out of the rolls for taxation forever. If the project is not completed or is left, it will become, as is noted by the EPA, a toxic waste dump. All solar panels are rated as toxic. Any commitment of farmland to solar is noted by the Department of Markets and Agricultural Markets, whatever it is, a state agency, as permanently industrial. Ripley Solar, you may have noticed in the Post-Journal, 523 acres will be cleared, clear cut. This is in addition to the many hundreds and hundreds of acres that have already been clear cut because this developer, whom we've documented for 2 years, has told every leaseholder to clear their land or they will clear it, grind it up, waste the lumber, and get the money, whatever is money that can be gotten. So the leaseholders have ground up, have logged hundreds and hundreds of acres of land already. It defies common sense to take down forests to put up solar when forests are the main source, as Mr. Hemmer just noted, of carbon sink and production of oxygen for our breathing. PFAS is a real danger in Ripley. PFAS should be considered a danger for the town of Northeastern Pennsylvania and for Lake Erie and for all of us if it is allowed to be put into our communities without the notification of whether or not there is PFAS present. If they come from China, they have PFAS in them. Our developers in the town of Chautauqua will not tell us where they're coming from. Same is true in Cattaraugus County. Cattaraugus County has already stated they will only be in brownfields. No matter what is allowed, it will be considered only for a brownfield. That's why you see them near St. Bonaventure along the highway. Those are brownfields. There is a lawsuit. I bring your attention to page 2, the lawsuit against the state by 5 towns and 6 entities that seeks to invalidate the new regulations under the newly named Office of Renewable Energy Siting, which used to be called something else. Now they have built into their regulations things that are considered by the complainants as violations of the regulations under SECRA and 94C. Those statutes included protection of the environment. The lawsuit seeks to prove that they were improvidently and illegally passed. The suit will show that the regulations were written by the wind and solar developers, and particularly the attorney and consultant whom we've documented for 5 years, James Moscato II, Esquire, who is present for every wind public hearing, every solar public hearing in Cattaraugus and Chautauqua County. This is a conflict. Why should the developer write the rules for the state to protect our communities? The wording benefits the developers while violating the environmental protections of our New York communities. So we have a couple more proposals. I bring them to you. One, propose that the county legislature require that no PFAS be allowed in solar components and that it be proven that there is no PFAS in solar components, proposed for our county. Propose, as Cattaraugus County did, a moratorium on industrial solar to determine the PFAS danger and the negative economic impact on the county. As you will note, I quote the IDA of Cattaraugus County, where they have determined from their experience there is no economic return, and the destruction of agriculture and forest is unsatisfactory. And we propose a motion or a resolution supporting the ORIS lawsuit. I've included in your emails the film of the hearing that happened in Ripley on Wednesday night. That gives you a very good feeling for the 523 acres and the attempt to protect, to call out a forest preservation easement proposal that the people of Ripley spoke to in that hearing. And the attorney explains it all very well. Forest preservation easement means someone commits their land to forever conservation, but that land can never be sold or utilized by those. The owner no longer has any control and probably can't sell it. So it still remains that 523 acres of mature forest will be cleared no matter whether there is a forest preservation easement or not, in addition to hundreds of other acres. So this lawsuit, if you read it, it's attached to the email that I sent to you this afternoon, is very clear and it's very well worded, and it does point out that the revision under the latest manifestation of our energy siting for the state of New York, the revisions are hasty, inadequate, and benefit the developers, but they do not protect the environment or the communities. So please consider doing some for us. Thank you, on this issue, solar. Thank you. Any questions? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's all in your email.
Okay. Seeing no one else to speak to the privilege of the floor, let's move on to our first, our first resolution involves the airport and our airport's manager.
She's running late, she'll be here shortly, can we just skip?
Okay. We'll move that one to the end. And then we'll go on to our second resolution on the agenda to amend the adopted amend the 2022 adopted budget for the Southern Chautauqua Sewer District.
I'm Kathleen Dennison, Budget Director, and I'm here this afternoon on behalf of the South and Center Chautauqua Lake Sewer Districts. This resolution is pretty straightforward. The department budgeted one too few people in the sanitary department and one too many in the treatment department. So they're looking just to move some monies out of treatment and into sanitary to support expenditures through the rest of this year. I will note that this imbalance, if you will, has already been corrected in the 2023 budget, because in the 2023 budget, the number of people in the sanitary department it's actually up 2.33 and down 1 in the treatment, but they are moving this person, already moved this person in the 2023 budget into the sanitary operation.
Okay. Anyone have any questions concerning this resolution? Looks like a pretty simple fix. Wow. It should all be like that.
Well, and we try to bring these changes to your attention as soon as we are aware that there is a need for them. Obviously, with this one, we probably could have waited until the year-end balancing resolutions, but we know about it now, so we'd like to get it taken care of sooner rather than later.
Sounds good. All right. All in favor of the proposed resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The resolution carries. Thank you very much. Our next proposed resolution on the agenda today is amend the 2022 adopted budget for environment landfill.
Good afternoon. Our proposed resolution is to amend the 2022 adopted budget at the landfill.
Just for everyone who's listening, could you give us your
My name and date?
Yeah.
Aaron Gustafson, Chautauqua County Deputy Director of Public Facilities Environment, Landfill Manager.
Thank you.
The proposed resolution is to amend the adopted 2022 budget for the landfill. Some landfill departmental expenditures have exceeded initial budget estimates, and some appropriations have surplus. Therefore, the Director of Finance is hereby authorized and directed to make the following changes to the adopted 2022 budget. They'd like to increase appropriation account equipment environment of the landfill, $2,369, and increase the revenue account sale of recyclables by the same amount, $2,369. What it amounts to is our .2s and 3s. There was a couple overages, some computers. Estimates were a little higher than the original budget. We also bought another additional laptop. We bought a piece of equipment, a cutout saw, that ended up in the additional equipment account because it was over $1,000, and we'd like in the lift gate, the estimate for that ended up being more than the original estimate that we had budgeted for, of course. So out of our sale of recyclables, we've done well there. We decided to pull some money out of that just to cover these balances. Again, as Kathleen just said, we probably could have done this at the end of the year, but we wanted to bring it to our attention sooner rather than later.
Thank you for that. Sounds good, huh?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I could make one comment and maybe propose a change. I just wanted to bring to your attention that this dollar amount, because it normally you would think we could take care of it through an executive transfer, but executive transfers are only allowed between appropriation accounts. And since the landfill is paying for this extra expense with revenue, that's why we had to do a resolution instead of just an executive transfer. But I did just notice that we probably should take out a phrase in the first whereas clause, and I apologize for not catching this initially. You know, it says expenditures have exceeded initial budgetary estimates, as well as some appropriations have a surplus. That last piece really isn't needed because we're not reducing any appropriations budgets since we're paying for it with revenue. So I would suggest we strike as well as some appropriations have a surplus. So I'm not sure if that can be a typo or if we have to amend.
Seems like that could be.
Looking at the attorneys.
Whatever you state for the record, if you want it just as a typo, that's fine.
That sounds good to me. A typo would be perfect. Since it's a typo, we don't have to do an amendment, right?
Right.
Okay. That will be easy then. Thank you, Ms. Dennison. Any questions from the committee concerning this resolution? Okay, all in favor of the proposed resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the resolution carries. Thank you. Our next proposed resolution on the agenda today is for authorizing the lease of office space in the city of Dunkirk.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Drew Rogers, Deputy Director of Public Facilities Engineering. This resolution is for the execution of a new lease agreement. The background of this request is that the Department of Health and Human Services is proposing to move from the North County office building to 15 Lucas Avenue in the city of Dunkirk. 15 Lucas Avenue is a standalone building with off-street parking. It's owned by Agricultural Land Holdings LLC. It's the same landlord, building owner that owns the Dunkirk Ag Building that the Departments of Mental Hygiene and Probation moved into earlier this year in the city of Dunkirk. The space at Lucas Avenue is approximately 10,500 square feet. The proposed base rent is $15.05 a square foot. That includes utilities, taxes, cleaning, building and parking lot maintenance, new flooring, new lighting, and building generator. The base rent is subject to a 3.5% per year increase. In comparison to their current location, they occupy approximately 12,370 square feet at a rate of $20.35 per square foot. So there is some budgetary savings. So this resolution would authorize the county executive to execute the lease agreement with Agricultural Land Holdings LLC.
I'm good. Do we have any questions from the committee concerning this?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
while I definitely appreciate the decrease in the overall per square footage rate, I'm mildly concerned by the increase by 3.5% per year. Is there a cap on that after a certain number of years, or is it just every year it's 3.5% for eternity?
Well, for the life of the agreement is the 3.5% per year.
Is that a fairly normal thing? to
Yeah,
have built
just
into
thinking
it?
off the top of my head, I know the South County office building lease is a 4% increase annually.
Okay. Thank you.
You're saying that they're losing 2,000 square feet of space? Is that gonna affect the service to their customers?
believe operationally they're making some changes. So I don't believe they needed the full space that they currently occupy. At least that's my understanding.
So it shouldn't change anything.
Right. They're still offering, you know, their same services, but I think they're doing some moving that makes things maybe more efficient.
Sounds good.
I don't really fully know.
All right. Any other questions from the committee? Okay. All in favor of the proposed resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The resolution carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next proposed resolution is the acceptance of the Federal Transit Administration COVID relief funds for operating assistance.
Good afternoon. I'm Michelle Westall, Senior Project Coordinator at CARTS. We have been awarded through New York State DOT for the CRISA, $970,000, and for the ARPA money, $1.3 million to go towards our operating expenses. And we would like to accept that.
Looked like there's some matching, is there?
Not with that, no.
Not with that one, okay.
No, that's 100%
No.
no match.
And, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead, you started.
Oh, okay. No, I just wondered what your plans are to use the money. Like, have you,
Well, we'll use it for our local share, towards our local share. We still have to have a bit of a local share because there's some things that, like our STOA, we have to have a local match for, and some other things we have to have a match for, but we'll use it towards our local share. And honestly, we haven't gotten past that because our revenue is down because of COVID. So we'll use it towards making up the revenue.
No restrictions along those lines? You can just use it to replace your.
Yes, it's for the operating assistance, to use towards operating assistance.
Okay.
And Michelle, what period, does this have to apply to a particular calendar period, or?
It'll apply towards it can apply towards 2022, and then until we use it,
Okay.
until it's depleted.
And are either of these included in the 2022 or 23 budgets?
No. No, because we just found out about this
Okay,
when we
that's
were
what I-
able to apply for the grant.
That's what I thought. I
Yes,
couldn't
no, it's-
remember if we talked about that, so, okay.
Yes, no, it does not. It is not included.
You have to bring budget resolutions later.
Well,
and is this is additional ARPA money that came from the state?
This is from New York State DOT.
Okay.
Did I hear you say that there will have to be a budget resolution?
Later.
We're discussing that.
Oh.
I'll let the budget director speak.
yeah, I apologize for not asking this question earlier, because I was just saying to Mr. Shagnon that with revenue changes, I mean, if you're not anticipating increases if there's not increases in appropriations that you want to attach to this, strictly speaking, your budget doesn't have to be amended for quote-unquote excess revenue. But we probably should make an amendment when you decide when you want to use the revenue, just so we have an accurate picture of what we're expecting. So I think maybe, we should just make sure when we go through the 2022 year-end process, that if we're increasing revenue to put some of this into the 2022 budget, we would do it with the year-end resolutions.
Okay.
Is this all funding that is, you won't get until you've spent money and you present bills and
Yeah,
then you
it-
get the reimbursement?
Yes, at the end
Okay.
of the year, I
All
would
right.
do the request for whatever we were short. And then they would pay us out of that.
Good, all right. Any other questions on this one?
What about the ARPA money? Do you get that right away? Like, didn't we get that at the county?
This is the next resolution. Haven't talked about that one yet.
Well, part of this one is ARPA funding as well. It's
But-
just a different source. This one is ARPA that's coming through the state.
I just remember like we had the money to spend, we didn't spend it to get the money.
I believe it's the same way that we did the CARES Act with DOT. We have to spend it, and then they'll eventually reimburse us.
Yeah, well, and it's coming through a pass-through through the state. so
Yes.
That's probably, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. All in favor of the proposed resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? The resolution carries. Okay. Our next proposed resolution is the CARTS, Section 5311 Consolidation, Operating, and Capital Grant Application Request.
Yes, this is our grant that we're supposed to get every 2 years, but it's been a little delayed. This is supposed to be for, I believe, 21, 22, and it's only coming out now for 22, 23. So in this grant, we're requesting to replace 13 buses. We were gonna normally replace 6 every year, but this last year, we didn't have enough funding because of the increase in cost to replace all that we wanted to for the last grant. So I had to carry one of those buses over into this grant. So there's 13 buses that we're asking to replace. And that's all 80% federal, 10% state, and a 10% local share. Sorry. We need to replace our tablets and chargers every 2 years on the buses. That's how the drivers get their manifest and have the GPS, and we can track where the drivers are, and if something happens, we know what's going on. We need to get 3 new radios for the buses, or actually, these 3 radios would be for the new trolleys that we just received. We need a replacement vehicle. New York State DOT will pay for us to get a new administrative van. So then it's only a 10% local share and it's ours, so we don't have to lease it. We requested a couple of laptops, and our mobility manager's wages also come out of this. It's 80% local, 10%, 80% federal, 10% state, and 10% in-kind for our local share. So the mobility manager basically doesn't cost us anything, because the in-kind is being housed at carts and using our computer and our phones and my time supervising her. Then we do have our operating assistants that they will help us with. I put this in here because we had to for the grant, but there's a good chance that the last 2 years they haven't paid us our operating assistance. It actually comes out of the CARES Act money for the last 2 years, and then I'm assuming for the next 2 years it'll probably come out of the ARPA and the CRISA money, because they're not gonna pay us double. But for the grant, I had to put it in the resolution that we would accept it if they offered it. I think that covers everything that's in the grant. So we would just like permission to submit the application and have it signed and submitted.
Any questions from the committee concerning this one?
So you're thinking thinking you might not need, they're probably not gonna give the grant because of the other.
No, we'll get the grant. It's the operating assistance, the 389,500 for 22, and for 23, it's 397,500. Normally, with, like, when we get the CARES Act money, they made us take it out of that. They didn't pay us the CARES Act plus the operating assistance.
I see,
But because the way the grant is written, we had to put it in the resolution.
okay.
So that would be from the previous,
Yes,
that's where that money would probably.
probably, yes.
Come from, okay.
I would be highly surprised if they actually gave us that on top of the other. But you never know.
You don't get anything you don't ask for.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
there is a minor typo in the last whereas clause. It says the thirds component of the grant, and it
Oh.
should just be the third component of the grant.
another typo. Huh.
Sorry for not
Thank
catching these
you.
earlier.
That's okay, that's good. It's good to have it right, read right. Okay. If that's all the questions and all the corrections, all in favor of the proposed resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the resolution carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the list is the proposal to amend the 2022 capital project account, DPF, large equipment.
Sam Zafuto, Fiscal Supervisor, Department of Public Facilities.
Drew Rogers, Deputy Director, Public Facilities Engineering.
Thank you.
All right, this resolution is pretty straightforward. This is to take the surplus from the auction sales of our heavy equipment to then turn that money into an appropriation to use it to continue additional replacement of the DPF heavy equipment fleet. Our fleet manager has done a great job this year in getting a lot of our items to auction, and, you know, this is the proceeds. There will be an additional resolution for this also, as year end, as we did receive another check as well today for additional surplus items and being able to use it in the future to continue the heavy equipment purchases.
Sounds good. Any questions concerning this one?
What'd you sell?
There's a whole giant list of things. There were plow trucks. There were basically everything we've been replacing, he's been selling. So he's been going through a bunch of our different side. I mean, this is only the heavy equipment side. There's also stuff for road machinery. I can get you a whole list if you'd like to see
No,
it,
just-
but.
If there's anything I was interested in.
Some of it was in rough shape, I will say that.
I'm not interested.
Do you know what you're gonna be buying?
The one item was a post hole pounding truck, and that actually came in right around this dollar amount that they've kind of earmarked it for. We still do have some money in that account, finalizing the purchases for this year and going into next.
Was that truck a big ticket item?
It's, yeah, it's
was-
over, it's close to 300,000 is
Oh,
what he gave me.
Is that for guide rails or for signs or?
Well, both,
All of the above.
all of the
All
above
of
and
them.
then some.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay, all in favor of the proposed resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the resolution carries. Okay, amend the 2022 budget for Public Facilities Engineering Division.
Yes, this, we have had a change in some titles of an employee in engineering, as well as a change in employee. That has led to us going over budget already for the employee benefits. This basically is correcting this through year end, so we do not have to do another resolution for engineering, hopefully at the end of the year. But this is based on a change in employee and change in employee status.
So did someone become full-time or something?
We had an employee, a change in employee and a change in health insurance, went from an opt-out to a family health insurance
Oh,
plan.
okay.
And then the proposed savings is gonna come from the maintenance of road personal services account. We have had vacancies all year, so we're more than comfortable using this to balance engineering at this time.
Unfilled positions or?
Yeah,
or
there's,
just,
they've been unfilled positions, unfortunately.
oh, okay. All right. Any further questions on this one? All right, all in favor of the proposed resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? The resolution carries. Okay, that takes care of everything except for that first resolution that we pushed out here to the end to amend the 2022 adopted budget for the Department of Public Facilities Airports.
Thanks, Sam. I apologize, first of all, for having to change the budget. I went to the wrong location. My apologies.
Okay, well, glad you made it over here.
All right, so this is my first time. We went over, or about to go over budget for the end of the year. It's my first year doing this one, and we had few things at the end of the year that came up that were not anticipated.
Introductions?
Oh, yes,
Oh,
sorry
sorry.
about that, yes. Yes, and for the people who are listening in, we usually give your name and your position before you begin to speak about the resolution.
And
That
date of
you're,
birth and social security.
yeah, that too, no.
Okay, Shannon Barnhart, Manager of Airports.
Brian Bates, Assistant Manager of Airports.
Thank you.
Okay, so we, right now, on our budget, we just printed the one today just so I could kind of go through it. We are not currently over in every area that we've asked for here, but by the end of the year, we anticipate working with, work with Kathleen. We've worked on a few with others to make sure that we don't have to come back and ask again. So we had, at the end of the year, 3 different boiler issues. One went in Dunkirk, 2 at Jamestown, we had major repairs to. We had our ARF truck, we had repairs to, the refueler truck. We had an SPCC fee from the the beginning of the year, which was a spill prevention, control plan fee, wildlife training, and extra, basically my costs as well. Ron, our previous airport manager, was part-time. We went to full-time for me, so personal services were over there. Am I going in the right order here, or do you guys need me to?
Oh, that's, no.
Okay, I'm just gonna keep going down the list of
Sure, yeah.
of items. We had someone retire at the beginning of the year, just unanticipated things that happened. We now have the restaurant in there. I know we did low rent with anticipation to have her go renew her lease in the future. We've done quite a few repairs, probably around the $5,000 range right now.
Probably, yeah.
But by the end of the year, we put a little bit extra in there just to make sure that we wouldn't, like I said, wouldn't have to come back and ask again for the repairs there. Can you think of anything else of the top?
Oh, with the restaurant, some of that equipment hasn't run in 7 years, so it's been sitting
Yeah.
idle, waiting for someone to be there, so we're just planning for anything that pops up after it runs.
The coolers weren't
Yeah.
working, we had to get those reinstated. The refrigerator, we held off hopefully till the next budget. She said she only needed 1 cooler for right now, but just to try to, in lieu of the budget obviously being over. We only bought 1 new thing, and it was a requirement of the county health department to have a 3-bay sink for her instead of just the 2-bay, because the dishwasher didn't work that was in there, so. all these things that I'm learning too would go along with the restaurant business. I think we're both learning. We did have some revenues that did come in to offset that. The sheriff, we worked out an MOU this year, so that will offset some of the budget. So what we are asking for, the 106,000, we did take into consideration those extra revenues for this year as well. And I guess my salary, you know, is split between Dunkirk and Jamestown, so I sort of said this all as a whole. And we did have two different areas where we had payroll allocated that we anticipated a state grant would be reimbursed for that. That is not the case, so it will not be reimbursed. So we had to kind of eat that cost as well. That will not happen in the future. When we go out for a state grant, we definitely learned a lesson there.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Yes. Anyone? Mr. Scudder?
Yeah. What are we getting for the lease for that restaurant?
$500 a month for 6 months.
And what are we spending on equipment?
Total, what we've spent so far is around $5,000. And that's on, that was the oven working, we
It
got
was really the big
FRP.
cooler and the big cooler, the sink.
Mhm.
The rest of it was, that was the biggest ticket. That's what got us close, and a couple $100 on the cleanup.
So we're getting $500 a month,
Mhm.
and we spent how much?
$5,000.
5,000.
Which is we did a short-term lease because we anticipate her renewing. We've talked about this already. This was kind of a, not with us, but her and I. We gotta make sure it works for us and for her, and she knows we've tried to do just the bare minimum to get her ready to go. And then in the future, with hopes that we can do a longer-term lease at a higher rate to recoup these costs as well for us, for the county.
Is she up and running?
She is today, cooking.
Oh, good.
Yep. And then Grab and Go will start January 1st. She cooks, she has 3 events this week, and she's already cooking today. So they did a great job.
Did anybody fly into these events?
Well, they will, but just not within the next month or so.
Got it. Thank you.
That is the plan though. We plan to work with her to host the fly-ins and whatnot. Having her at the airport will help us, you know, we have food there already. She's hosted other events with food trucks in the past, has a lot of good connections in the county. So we've heard still nothing but good things about, you know, her food, the events that she's hosted. She did something with the Christmas event at the arena in the past. So I guess it was a pretty large event. It brought in a lot of people to Jamestown. So we're anticipating doing the same thing at the airport.
What's the deal with the equipment? Are we obligated to replace, like if there's a oven there and then it doesn't work, are we obligated to provide her a working oven?
So
At what point is she responsible for the?
right. Actually, we have discussed this with her too, because yes, we can't go replacing all of the equipment. The stuff is in working condition right now. If it's not up to the standards, I guess, that she wants, she can provide her own equipment, but she takes it with her, you know, if she leaves. So anything that's there that's county owned is ours to yes, maintain and keep up to working conditions.
Yep.
For her. And it is old. I mean, don't get me wrong, they spent hours on not just repairs, but cleaning too. It was left in not the best condition, so.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Done that, so I just.
And she's
okay.
really done, I would say she hasn't asked for the moon, you know. She's really
Right.
working with what she has asked for needs, you know, a cooler. I think that's pretty, we had to be on a wait list, and it was kind of a pricey, you know, thing to get repaired, so.
I mean, it's always the goal to not spend more than you're taking.
Mhm.
Totally, yeah.
So that was my
Understand.
question. I'm not,
Mhm.
Yes.
I'm good. I'm just,
She has, I know it's only the beginning month of the lease, but she's already wanting to extend out, you know, to the future.
thank you.
Mhm.
So the contractual fees are for repairs?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
other things on the list too. I guess I didn't, testing for hangar C, gate issues that we had, fire inspection. All these things were like unanticipated items for this year. And we also just, the snow blowers, unfortunately during the last snow event, we lost two and
Yep.
one had to be repaired. We were able to borrow one from the Sherman shop thanks to Tim coordinated that. And then our new blower at Dunkirk came in the Monday after the snow event, so it was very unfortunate, but we have used it once and it's great. We hope to not be in that situation again. But those were also repairs that we did not budget for.
Tough to budget for
Everything.
things that break.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? Not this one? Okay, hate to dip into the fund balance, but, no place, in the DPF budget we can take it from, I guess, huh?
Right. We've worked with Sam too on that, so I think we're.
Yeah, we're limited to just the A fund to balance the airports, and there was no savings I could forecast at this dollar amount through cards that are building and grounds at this time.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor of the proposed, resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The resolution carries. Okay, there is one additional resolution on your desks today. And that additional resolution is to authorize the public hearing on Office 46 lease agreement at the Chautauqua County Jamestown Airport. And Shannon?
Okay. So, as you guys all know, we've had Chase Aviation in there for the last 2 years. Their lease is up. It was up in October. It was on me to get this done, and I apologize for the delay on that. He has been in there. We don't anticipate any changes to the date. It would be still October 1st, and we're not losing the funds on that. But we need a public hearing to allow him 2 more years in the facility. So he pays us $500 a month. Minimal repairs. I think when he first got there, we put in $2,500 for repairs in the beginning. We took that out of this lease. You know, he's already had, his office is nice and up to par. Everything is in working condition, and we don't need to spend any more money on it. He just would like a renewal, and so would we. And he does, and I guess in short, brokerage, aircraft brokerage. He considers himself an aviation consultant for aircraft. So he'll travel kind of like a realtor to sell an aircraft, to buy an aircraft, and that middleman. We does some of the aircraft come here to the airport. A lot of them he has an airplane that he travels to and utilizes our facility, pays his lease, has a lease through Centric Aviation to store his plane, so he's doing active business at the airport as well.
Very good. Any questions from the committee on this resolution? Okay. Hearing none. All in favor of the proposed resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The resolution carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else to come before the committee today? Hearing
We do
nothing.
have one other thing, John.
Whoops, okay.
There was one other resolution to go under other that you must not have gotten to you for a lease extension of the Graff building.
No, I didn't see it. Is it written up and
Yep.
copies for us all? for all the members of the committee and for, our clerk of the legislature.
Did it go through New World?
Looks like it only got to Steve Abdella, though. I'm looking at it now. It was forwarded to Kitty on December 7th, but it looks like she didn't act on it. So it never,
We didn't receive it in our
When was the lease up? The lease runs out at the end of the year?
End of the year, yeah.
Okay, so
Steve is,
what's the suggestion? Should we?
Yeah, Steve Abdella, County Attorney. I think I can just brief you all on it, and maybe we'll bring it to audit and control. But you may recall that last year, we did an extension of the graph lease to allow time for these various departments to move out and find new space. So that is still happening, including the lease that you approved tonight for social services. It's just going to take a little while for the renovations to occur, for social services to be able to move, which I think will be the last of our tenants in the Graf building. So we're working with, and a lease was drafted, a resolution was drafted. I'm not positive that the landlord has accepted those terms, which would be the same terms and conditions that they had been. I think he probably will. But it allows us to leave whenever we're ready and only pay rent up through the time that we're there. So it would just be extending it past January 1st for whatever time is needed in 2023 for social services to get out and take possession of their new space.
Will it be ready in time for audit and control, or?
I would believe so, but I will check on that, definitely.
Can social services be thrown out of the building at the end of the year and then not have a home for a couple months while they're working on the new?
No, the landlord expressed no issue with them staying over.
Okay.
I think they are asking for 60 days notice, them having the right to give us 60 days notice to get out in case somehow they were to find a tenant for that building. But that's not likely to occur.
Okay, well, sounds like we will let it go and see if it gets prepared by the time that audit and control
Yeah.
meets on Thursday, and if so, at least it'll get one committee to take a look at it.
Stay tuned for your full legislature pre-file on that one.
Stay tuned. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Abdullah, for that fine explanation. All right, then, is there anything else to come before the committee? You know what, it looks like we may have finished all of the business except for one thing. This, I believe, is Mr. Jake Woods' last Public Facilities Committee meeting.
That is correct.
Congratulations on your many years of fantastic service to Chautauqua County. Good luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you.
All right.
It's very nice. It's been very nice to be able to serve on this committee.
We've appreciated it.
Do you have any advice? Parting advice?
Keep working. I'll be watching.
Okay, thank you again. Then I guess we can look for a motion to.
I would make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Gould.
I will second that.
All right. All in favor?